Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. We're going to go to the Big 12, and probably not the favorite, certainly not the favorite, but probably the most interesting team in that conference. That is the Colorado Buffaloes. We all watched last year, Coach Prime, year one, Colorado, 4-8. Well, what do we expect this year? Let's go ahead and dive in. Let's start with this. The over-under for Colorado, coming off a 4-8 year, is 5.5 wins. The money coming in on the over, most people expecting them to get bowl eligible in year two under Deion Sanders. Now, in terms of last year, listen, we all watched, Colorado outside of maybe Michigan and Alabama by the end of the year, probably the most watched team in college football. So we don't need to spend a ton of time talking about them. But obviously, take the college football world by storm, beat the defending national champions TCU on the first Saturday of the season, beat Nebraska, longtime rival, on the second weekend of the season, beat Colorado State to improve to 3-0 in what was one of the most thrilling games of the entire season. And then, unfortunately, kind of didn't really go well from there. You lose the following week at Oregon. No shame in that. That's the famous Dan Lanning speech. You almost beat USC the following week. You lose by a touchdown. You have the ball late, chance to tie the game. You can't do it. Beat Arizona State. And then from there, the wheels fall off. At one point, you're 4-2. You finish 4-8 overall. And by now, you kind of know what the problems were as the season went on. One, offensive line couldn't run block, couldn't protect Shedeur Sanders, 56 sacks allowed by that offensive line, second most in all of college football. The run game, because the O-line couldn't pass block or run block, 68 yards per game rushing, which was 130th nationally. Again, 56 sacks allowed. And the defense ultimately by the end of the year wasn't significantly better, 121st nationally, allowing 34 points per game. Now, as we start to look ahead to this year, before we get to individual position groups, offense, defense, etc., it is worth noting, love Coach Prime, hate Coach Prime, whatever. There was another significant talent upgrade this offseason in that program. Year one, you run out a lot of kids. I don't have a problem with it. It's the NIL portal world. Deal with it. You want to be compensated as a pro. You're going to be treated like a pro. We've been through all that, okay? But after last season, Colorado felt like they needed to upgrade. And to their credit, they kind of sorted it. You can like Coach Prime or not, but here are some of the names that you need to know coming into the year. Offensively, Will Shepard, Vandy's leading receiver a season ago. He comes in after many success, really a couple really good years in the SEC. LeJonte Wester, 1,000-yard receiver at Florida Atlantic. He is in. Khalil Benson, a right tackle, started every game for Indiana last year, gave up 1 sack the entire year, if my memory serves me correct. By the way, on the defensive side of the ball, BJ Green, all Pac-12 defensive lineman from Arizona State. You have Quincy Wiggins, a former 5-star who played at LSU. You have Sam Okunlola, who was Pitt's best defensive lineman in the ACC a season ago. So to me, the talent has again been upgraded, which makes it intriguing. And of course, I should mention that a small high school recruiting class was headlined by Jordan Seaton, the #1 offensive tackle in America. In terms of this year's team, I think it'll be really interesting. Listen, Pat Shurmur took over as play caller late in the season. Things didn't really get better, but we now have a whole offseason to see, is this going to work? Is it not? What's interesting to me is a couple things. One, Shedeur is kind of the mini Coach Prime, right? Coach Prime's the only coach in America that I've ever seen go from 1 win to 4 in year one, quadruple his win total, and everybody says he's overrated and stinks. I don't get it, whatever. But I bring it up because Shedeur, who people keep telling me, oh, he's overrated. You guys in the media talk about him too much. Listen, I'm not an NFL draft evaluator. I don't know if he's going to be the #1 pick, if Carson Beck is better, if Quinn Ewers is better, whoever. What I do know is a quarterback who I kept being told was terrible. These were his final stats from a season ago. Last year, Shedeur, how about this? In a season where I was told all year that he's overrated, 3,200 yards passing, 27 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So if you're telling me he's overrated with 3,200 yards, 27 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, find me a quarterback who isn't overrated, because that's awesome. Now, in terms of the rest of the offense, there's good, there's bad, and there's certainly we need to see. I think what we need to see, how does that O-line hold up? Because again, gave up 56 sacks last year. Now, listen, I'm not going to say it's all on the O-line. There are times where Shedeur held on the ball a little bit long in the Colorado offense. Should have gotten rid of the ball a little bit quicker, whatever. But I bring it up because that O-line needs to be better, not just to protect Shedeur, but also for the run game. What'll be interesting, Dallin Hayden comes in from Ohio State. This kid was really good 2 years ago. TreVeyon Henderson got hurt, had 3 straight 100-yard rushing games late in the season, finished with about 600 yards rushing in 2022. Last year, TreVeyon Henderson comes back. He kind of moves down the depth chart, deals with some injuries, but he's in. And what I will also say, if they can get a run game going, and if they can protect Shedeur, Colorado has maybe the deepest group of wide receivers in the Big 12. I think it's not even debatable, as a matter of fact. Jimmy Horn comes back last year after finishing the season with a grand total of 58 catches for 600 yards and 6 TDs. Travis Hunter, 57 catches, 721 yards, 5 TDs. And remember, he missed a bunch of games. I mentioned LeJonte Wester, a 1,000-yard receiver out of Florida Atlantic. Will Shepard, 47 catches, 8 TDs at Vanderbilt a year ago. And also worth noting, 2 really good 4-star wide receivers out of the high school ranks. Draylon Miller was committed to Texas A&M. Cam Michael was a player that chose Colorado over Georgia and Tennessee, among others. So really for the offense, it comes down to that O-line. I already mentioned it, 5 new starters, Jordan Seaton at 1 tackle, Khalil Benson at another tackle, and we'll see how it goes. I mean, the bottom line to me, I'll be curious on Jordan Seaton specifically, because what I keep being told, you can't start a freshman on the O-line. Well, remember, Alabama, Caden Proctor started all 14 games for Alabama last year. They were pretty good, won an SEC title. He did it as a true freshman. So can Jordan Seaton come in? Can he protect Shedeur's blind side? And what about all the other pieces that have come in alongside him? Now, switching over to the defense, again, was not pretty last year. By the end, it just was not good. 35 points per game allowed, 121st nationally, 176 yards rushing allowed, 453 yards allowed total, which was 127th nationally. It's got to be better across the board. But again, the talent is better across the board. In terms of the names you need to know, D-line, in my opinion, significantly improved. We mentioned it a minute ago. BJ Green, BJ Young, I think, is Tennessee, maybe. I think he plays in the NFL. Is that Byron Young? I can't keep everybody straight. Can't keep all these young guys straight, okay? But anyway, BJ Young comes in from Arizona State, 11 and a half TFLs last year, 6 sacks, forced fumble, one of the best defensive linemen in the Pac-12 last year. And remember, the Pac-12 was very good. Sam Okunlola, as I said, 6.5 TFLs, 5 sacks at Pitt. Quincy Wiggins, former 5-star. And it's kind of worth noting a couple other nice pieces that actually do return to Colorado, including Amari McNeil, 7 TFLs, 3 sacks a season ago. So that D-line, we talked so much about the O-line. The D-line should be significantly improved. The secondary, again, should be among the best in college football, or at least significantly improved among the best in the Pac-12, or in the Big 12, no more Pac-12, with Travis Hunter obviously back. Shiloh Sanders, remember, led the team in tackles, had that pick 6 against Colorado State. Cameron Silmon-Craig, 3 interceptions a season ago. Also, Preston Hodge, another transfer. He came in from Liberty, 2 INTs, 10 PBUs this last year. They are expecting big things from him. Finally, before I give you my official over-under win total pick, it is worth noting, schedule's tough. So first off, you open against North Dakota State at home. Coach Prime joked at Big 12 Media Days, Big 12. Now I'm getting my Pac-12 and Big 12 confused. At Big 12 Media Days, Coach Prime did joke like, man, I told my AD, could you have given me a layup to start? North Dakota State, of course, is an FCS power. They've won multiple national championships. Also worth noting, they are going through a coaching change, though, at the same time. Matt Entz is out. He left for USC for an assistant coaching job. So in theory, that should be a nice win. But then from there, it gets tough. Final 2 out-of-conference games at Nebraska, at Colorado State, and then it's right into Big 12 play. And I think what stands out to me about Big 12 play, the Big 12 did not ease Colorado into this conference. Now, I think it's because they know that Colorado draws eyeballs. They want as many big games in this league as possible. But of the top 5 teams in the preseason Big 12 poll, Colorado's playing all 5 of them. They play Kansas State in early October, then have to go to Arizona. Arizona picked in that top 5 with Noah Fafita, T-Mac, Tatoria McMillan they're returning from a 10-win team. Then the final 3 are just bananas. Utah, at Kansas, Oklahoma State. I think you could even throw in a final 4 where you have to go to Texas Tech, a place where everybody struggles to play that time of year. We don't know about the weather. It gets kind of windy on the plains out there, all that. So that's a final tough 4 at Texas Tech, and then Utah, the preseason favorite, at Kansas, Oklahoma State, Utah at home, at Kansas, Oklahoma State, which is second in the preseason poll to end the regular season. In terms of the over-under, listen, this is one I don't feel comfortable betting either side. I just don't. I think when I look at Colorado, in my opinion, 2 things can be true, okay? When I look at Colorado, I think they're improved. And I've said this all offseason. I think you could go to every single position group. They are improved at basically every single position group. They should be better on the O-line, better on the D-line. The wide receiver group, which was good last year, is going to be even better. You know, the only position group where they don't really gain or lose anybody, Deion Sanders, one, has some very capable backups if anything happens, but he should be better as well because the O-line is better because you have more weapons. Same time, that schedule is brutal. And that's why it's a stay away to me, because I'm not rooting for or against anything. But what if the O-line doesn't develop? What if the D-line depth isn't as good as we thought? What if the run game can't get going? That's just a tough schedule to do it against. You know, Nebraska in week 2. Nebraska, listen, that offense was terrible last year. That defense was as good as anybody in college football. Colorado State, you know, is going to want revenge. And then that Big 12 schedule is just brutal. Good news is, among those big Big 12 games, you get Utah, Kansas State, Oklahoma State at home, but still at Texas Tech isn't easy. At Kansas, even though that game will not be played on Kansas's campus, isn't easy. Also, Central Florida won't be easy as well, in addition to Arizona. All right, I think that's it for this episode of College Football Betting. Again, to be clear, stay away for me, 5.5 Colorado. That's it for this episode of College Football Betting with Aaron Torres, though. That's all. That's it for today's show. If you're not subscribed to the show, please make sure to do so. Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Music, wherever you listen to podcasts, make sure that you are subscribed. Also, make sure to rate and review the show. Go ahead, give us a quick 5 stars. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, all that good stuff. Make sure you're following on social media at Aaron_Torres on Twitter, at Aaron Torres pod on Instagram, Aaron Torres podcast questions at gmail.com if you ever have any questions for me. And I think that's it. Colorado is in the books. We may get back to the Big 12 at some point, but next week we're headed to the ACC, Clemson, Miami, Florida State. And then, oh, by the way, we'll get to some Big 10 teams with Ohio State, Michigan, Nebraska, on and on. It is a fun time of year. We will be back. I very much appreciate